The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hi, Sandy, the Candy Insurance Agency Marketing. So greatly appreciate the opportunity to share with you. Great company, National Guardian Life, with one of our top agents, John Inting. Before I hand it off to John Inting, a couple house cleaning items I'd like to get through first. Here at IAMS, we have something called an IAMS Business Builder, and what that is when you refer an agent over to us, we send you, and that agent gets contracted, we send you $50 as a thank you. And then in addition to that, if that same agent writes and places business, whether that's life, annuity, MedSup, combination thereof, you get paid an additional 20 basis points on each piece of placed business thereafter. There is no minimum on that. There is no, up to a certain dollar amount. That is continuous as long as that agent continues to place business with IAMS. And that doesn't come out of your commission. It doesn't come out of their commission. That comes from IAMS as a thank you for entrusting us with that agent or referral. We also have for all of our agents something called a marketing reimbursement account. And what that is think of it as a savings account for business expenses. For every $100,000 of premium that you place with IAMS, we put in $100 into a marketing reimbursement account. What you do is you submit an invoice for any business expense, such as seminars, website, gosh, you had to buy a computer or a laptop, whatever the case may be, send that in. We pay up to 50% of that as long as that amount is in your reimbursement account. That account does not go away. We will continue to keep that money in there indefinitely, and to use it, you can carry it on and over to the next year, and again, keep adding. We also have something for our brand new agents, and that is our new producer builder. And what that is, and when you are contracted with us in your first 6 months and you place $100,000 of business with us, again, that is life, annuity, MedSup, long-term care, combination thereof, you could choose a 2-year producer website that we create and manage for you. Or you can choose a $750 cash bonus. If you'd like to hold off because you think in your first 6 months, gosh, I'm going to place $300,000 of business with IAMS, you can choose a $1,500 gift card. You can choose a Social Security program and 3,000-piece mailing. Or you can choose a $2,000 marketing reimbursement deposit. So what that means is just what we spoke about. We'll put $2,000 in that marketing reimbursement account for you to use for any type of business expenses. If you'd like to hold off and you think, gosh, my first 6 months, I'm just going to go gangbusters here, place $500,000 of premium with IAMS, you can choose a 4,000-piece mailing and seminar coaching with a top producer of ours, Dave Pimper, a 5,000-piece mailing and seminar coaching with another great top producer of ours, Matt Gill. Or you can choose my favorite, it truly is my favorite, is a Ritz-Carlton travel package where you plan your own getaway. Again, this comes directly from IAMS. This does not come out of your commission. And this is just a big thank you for choosing us to submit and place your business. What I think is extremely important in getting that business submitted in place is our back office support. I wholeheartedly believe it's second to none. We try to help you work smarter, not harder, and how we do that is with case design assistance. You give us a call, let us know, what your client's interests are, what you plan on doing. We'll run all the quotes for you, give you suggestions and ideas, send you over the forms. We have top sales expertise and coaching, such as John Inting. We set you up on paperless contracting, so you fill out contracting paperwork once, and you don't have to do it again for any future cases. What is extremely important is our submission to commission, and what I mean by that is when you submit your application to IAMS, we scrub that application, make sure nothing is missing. If we have to order any exams or labs, we get that done for you. Submit to the carrier the same day, and then we follow that case every 3 days until that case is out the door and commission is paid to you. That doesn't mean that we're contacting you every 3 days. It just means that we are touching that case to make sure that it is on the right path to get out the door just as quickly as possible. We also have a strong marketing team. Gosh, if you like any of our websites, our emails, any of our newsletters, our Life and Annuity Academy book, our marketing team is the one that puts that together. You're in such great hands with Sean and Jacob, and they can help you with any type of flyers, handouts, postcards, any newsletters, a logo design. If you have a logo that maybe is tired and needs refreshed, or you don't have one, we can create that for you. Again, personal website, if you have one for your company, you just need some refreshed new information on there, or you don't have one, we'll create and manage that for you. Online newsletters, and really big right now is social media advertising. And gosh, we can help with advertising on Facebook. So if you're not familiar with that, or you're not sure that you're able to know how to do that, our creative team can do that for you. Just an example of what our creative team does is our IAMS website, and that is www.iamsinc.com. If you've not registered for our website, I can't stress enough for you to go out there and get registered. You're able to run term and UL quotes. You're able to pull forms online. You can look at current industry link in news. Our annuity grid, if you like to see our top 5 fixed annuities, you can pull that up. If you like to look at what our top income annuities are, you can pull that up as well. I am in this website every day. If you call me up and you say, gosh, I need a term or UL quote, this is where I'm getting it at. If you're asking for an app, this is where I go. If you as an agent want to go under our training and look at all of our webinars that we have coming up, this is where you would do it. You're able to also pull up any of our recorded webinars that we have as well. So great tool if you're a producer of ours, or you're thinking about getting contracted with IAMS, pull this up, get to know us a little bit, and let's see how we can help you. We also have something, it's an IAMS Wealth Management. I'm going to put out a poll question on that, and checking yes just means that you're asking for additional information. So when that DOL ruling came out and all the changes that were happening, we here at IAMS thought it was so important to try to make sure our agents retain as much business as possible so their clients don't have to go outside of them. And so how we did that is created our IAMS Wealth Management team. And what we do is, we help you increase your revenue by managed money fees. You're now able to offer just a full range of products and services, which helps, of course, with client retention. Again, your clients aren't going outside of you where you risk losing business. You're viewed differently by your clients as an advisor. You're now viewed as a fiduciary. There's been a lot of changes with the DOL. There's been delays. There's been terminations of specific rulings. However, don't think that this DOL ruling has gone away or is going away. It's not. So please check yes. We'll get you out some information. If you're not interested in getting your Series 65, but you're wondering how you can capture or retain these fees, we're able to help you do that as well. So just such important information to have, especially if you're in this industry. We have as well our Life and Annuity Academy. Another poll question. Love poll questions, especially this election year. So what we're doing, if you check yes with our Life and Annuity Academy poll question, that's just again asking for additional information. So proud of this. We're industry recognized. If you are interested in National Guardian or anything else that we have to offer, John Inting is one of our speakers there. He does an outstanding job in explaining this National Guardian Life product. This training is a 2-day training. We pay for everything, whether it's your airfare, lodging, meals, any of that. This is all expenses that IAMS covers. Gosh, our next one will be probably in February. And the 2-day training, what we do is we go over different sales ideas and strategies and help you unravel indexed annuities. When is a good time to use an income rider or an indexed annuities? What type of carrier should you be looking at? You know, we go over different threats and trends, over client objections, how to overcome them. Seminar system. So we just don't want you to think that you always have to have an expensive, formal, sit-down dinner seminar system. We go over those, of course. However, we go over coffee and, you know, cookies in a library and where that may best suit you. We go over large life case marketing and different insurance concepts, wealth transfer tools, especially utilizing such a great annuity alternative with single premium life. Can't stress enough what great information there. Private financing, different software tools. Our creative team will be there. It is a wealth of information. We choose between 35 and 40 agents. We had close to 1,000 register this last academy that we had in October. So can't stress enough, by checking yes, you're just asking for additional information, and we'll make sure to get that out for you and see if this is a good fit for both. We also have, in addition to great commission and you having the opportunity to qualify for all of our carriers' trips, we here at IAMS also offer a trip incentive for our agent and their guests. And next year, that'll be at the Ritz-Carlton in Naples, Florida. It's our 2019 Marketing Summit, August 25th through the 29th. We want as many people there as possible, and so we have long invitational periods. This invitational period started January 1st, 2018 and went all the way through June 30th, 2019. And how you and a guest could get there is a combination of ways, one of them being placing $3 million in annuity premium, $1.5 million in Medicare Supplement premium, or you can place $2.25 million with single premium life, $250,000 in life target premium, or $600,000 in long-term care premium, or again, a combination thereof. You are treated like family when you go to these trips. We're just so very proud of these trips. John Inting, of course, has been a top producer of ours that attends these, and he could attest to that. And again, just want as many people there as possible. The only way you and the guests are able to get there is to get contracted with IAMS and start writing and placing business with us. So right now what I'm going to do is turn it over to John Inting, who will go over such great information in regards to National Guardian Life and their two specific products that are so fundamentally important, I believe, and he'll go over why they are important and how it can help increase your business. So John, are you ready? John.
Yes, ma'am.
Wonderful.
Good morning. Yeah. Hey, good Monday morning to everybody out there. It's a fresh start to the week, and we're excited for a new week and a new opportunity to work with our clients. And one of the things I want to say before I get too deep in the weeds here is I'm a producer. I'm in the field. I have a financial planning company in Columbus, Ohio. So the reason I like to make that known to everybody on the webinar is I'm not sitting in a home office. I'm actually out here practicing what we preach. So as I go through things, these are things that have come from us actively working in the field with clients, knowing what works, what doesn't work, and give you some insight into that with the National Guardian Life product. So what we're going to cover today, we're going to talk about the opportunity that exists in the marketplace. We'll talk about the trusts themselves and how we utilize those. We'll talk about the product that we use to fund that trust. And then I'll give you some presentation ideas and tools, and we'll talk about the company itself. So the first thing we'll do, you can go ahead, Sandy, one more. We'll talk about the opportunity that exists. This product was brought to me about 14 years ago. I didn't know anything about it. I didn't know how it worked or how we could utilize it in our practice. but a mentor of mine told me that, you know, it was something we wanted to take a look at for sure and start implementing. That was 14 years ago, and today we've sold, you know, hundreds and hundreds of these contracts to clients. And I will say on that note that the clients have been very pleased with what we've done for them. And so we'll talk about that opportunity where it might fit into your practice. We all know we're in the planning business, and in order to get any type of planning done, you have to consider the options. You have to be able to present the plan, and then you have to be able to show the client where to pull the money from to be able to implement and complete that plan. And this program, as we walk through it, I'll share with you how we move them forward and show them that they already have the money. It's just a matter of repositioning it for the benefit of their family. And when we talk about that planning, you know, funeral and final expenses aren't going to be any different. One thing we know for sure is that someone's going to need to determine the services and pay the bill. The question for that's going to be who and when. And so a lot of times it'll be that deceased prior to death. And by this, I mean they've done their planning, they've got their affairs in order, and there's no issues. Or it could be the situation of the survivors afterwards. And that's a personal story of mine that I like to share with you. I'm the youngest of 5 children, all raised by my mom. My mom and dad divorced when I was 2, so I wasn't really super close with my father. But he passed away on January 21st of 2011, and I've always been the entrepreneur in the family, so anytime anything's going on, you know, my phone always rings, and I found myself sitting in a funeral director's office, and I was getting asked questions about my dad that I didn't have answers to. You know, what was his mother's maiden name? What was his highest rank in the military? His favorite funeral, his favorite hymn? These were all things that I, quite frankly, didn't have the answers to. But what I quickly realized was that all these years that I've been helping my clients get the affairs in order, in other words, that deceased prior to death, how much easier that it made it on their families to not have to go through what I went through. And that really reaffirmed my belief in National Guardian Life and the products that we use. So again, NGL offers choices on it. You can go to a funeral home, that's the plan and pay for the funeral, or we call that the pre-need side, where you walk in and, you know, pick out your casket and your funeral arrangements and such. Or you can set money aside to pay for those anticipated expenses, and that's more the final expense side, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. So we always ask our clients how much they think a traditional funeral costs. If you will take the time to ask them, you're going to hear answers all over the board. But this is what we share with them. You know, the average funeral cost is about $15,000 to do it traditionally. And so we want to help them understand that, you know, there's a better way to do things and to have that money set aside so it doesn't become a burden on your family, not only financially, but also going through all the things that I went through when my father didn't have his affairs in order. So they did a national survey, and 72% of the people thought it was a good idea to pre-plan, but 64% had not taken the steps to do so. And we believe the reason for that is rarely does a husband and wife wake up and look at each other on a beautiful day and say, hey, let's go down and pick out our casket. Actually, the human mind can only contemplate its own demise for about 11 seconds, and then it switches on to something else. So your clients aren't any different, and what I take from this survey is there's a lot of people out there that want to get it done. They just don't have anybody prodding them to move forward, and that's where you'll come in with this particular product. The market's huge. I mean, we're not going to run out of any prospects in this program. So I would encourage you, if you're in this business for the long term and you like additional income to your business, learn this product. Ask your clients about it, because the number of people that are going to continue to need it is just going to grow and grow. And the sharper you become, obviously, you know, the more you're going to be able to help those clients and the more sales that you're going to make. So where we start our conversation with a lot of clients is we'll just ask them a question that we normally know the answer to, which is, do you have any type of nursing home protection? 94% of all Americans have nothing, so we have a pretty good idea what that answer would be. And then we'll explain to them that it's a very costly procedure to go through. At these numbers, at 68 to 78,000 per year, and then growing at 4%. We explained to them that when you get into this position, you have to start spending your assets down. And many people who have to spend their assets down ending up needing to qualify for Medicaid. And that's basically getting assistance from the government to pay your way through a long-term care facility. So this is a great product to be able to show them how to blend that financial protection of life insurance with an irrevocable funeral trust. Plan ahead and set that money aside now permanently, knowing that it's designated for when you pass away, and then using the trust at National Guardian Life to hold that money, because what we're doing at that point is we've effectively spent that money down, and that can help prevent that money from being counted during the Medicaid consideration process. In other words, it can protect it from having to be spent at the nursing home. So the trusts themselves that come from National Guardian Life, they're irrevocable. But being irrevocable, sometimes people have a negative attitude towards, but in reality, it's great that they're irrevocable because it gives us a lot of benefits. It gives us protection from creditors. The benefits that pay out eventually are going to pay out 100% income tax free. Those funds are going to be available immediately to take care of the funeral, and then the trusts are free. I always like to point out I have an elder law attorney down the street from me that will send clients my way, and if you wanted to go in and talk to him just about protecting some of your assets from a nursing home, he would be happy to do that for you. It's just $7,500 to get the party started, and then whatever happens from there, there'll be additional costs to get that trust done for you. But again, with us, those trusts are free. Everybody's going to qualify for the trust assignment, and then the death proceeds are going to be used for funeral expenses, and that's what they're designed for. They'll avoid the probate costs and delays, and what's really important here is these funds are totally portable. And why that's important is if you go prepay and pre-plan a funeral in a local funeral home, and then let's say you have kids and you have grandkids, and one day one of your children takes a job in Florida, and you say, wow, you know, we don't want to be here anymore, we want to be close to our family, and you move to Florida, you could have a problem since you prepaid at a funeral home here, say in Ohio, where with this plan, you're not designating any funeral home, so those funds are totally portable. They can be used at any funeral home anywhere in the United States. So I'll let you look at this next slide. This just shows you how the trust is going to compare to how people would usually have money put away for a final expense. And you can see there what we're really looking for is that bottom column where it shows that the irrevocable funeral trust is going to meet all of the criteria that we're looking for to protect the money and then eventually have it used to pay for someone's funeral. So on the next page here, I'll explain quickly how the trust works. So what you're doing is you're finding money to set aside to pre-plan for a funeral. Let's just say it's $15,000 because that's the average cost of a funeral. If you were to give the company $15,000, unlike a traditional single premium life, you're not going to get a big bump up in death benefit. But there's a reason for that. The reason for that is we don't want any cash value in the contract that can be attached by a nursing home. So if we give them $15,000, we may start out with $15,500 worth of death benefit. We're going to put that in the plan. 45 days after the plan has been issued, they're going to automatically assign that to the irrevocable funeral trust, which is going to allow that money to grow tax-free and earn an interest rate that's simple interest compounded daily, and it'll be able to help them grow the money for inflation. And then when someone passes away, the typical procedure in our office is the client would call us and say, hey, you know, mom passed away. We would get the name of the funeral home. We would call the funeral home, get the contact person with a fax number, and then we would call National Guardian Life, give them the policy number, the funeral home, and the fax number, and then we're out of the process at that point. Once that funeral home receives the claim paperwork and faxes it back into National Guardian Life, they receive their money within 48 hours of that claim being submitted. Now, why that's important is, whether you realize it or not, most funeral homes will not proceed with anything. They won't proceed with the viewing, anything at all, until they have money in hand. And with this program, we make sure that they have the money that's needed so the client can move forward with their funeral proceedings. And then any excess money that's left, say we put in $15,500, it grew to $17,000, the client died and the funeral was $16,000. That extra $1,000 has to be paid back to the estate. And the reason for that is we didn't want any incidents of ownership for that person owning the plan, because we didn't want it to be accessible by a funeral or by a long-term care facility. So again, that's how that process is going to work. I will tell you this, we've written many plans. I've been through this process with many families. It is the simplest process, and we have never once not had a client tell us thank you for making it so easy on their family. So on the next slide there, it'll compare the two trusts. The first one is going to be the National Guardian Life Funeral Expense Trust. I'm in Ohio, so for today, I'm going to talk about what we're allowed to do in Ohio, and then we'll put up a screen here in a little bit to show all the states across the country, because I see we have a lot of people on here, probably from all over the place. But in Ohio, we can put up to $15,000 per person into the NGL Funeral Expense Trust. And what that will do is it'll exclude that money immediately. As an example, the elder law attorney down the street sometimes will call my office and say, hey, we've got this couple, they've been spending through their money, they're going to try to apply for Medicaid at the first of the month. I need you to do a NGL Funeral Expense Trust on both of them, because we can get $30,000 off the table immediately. And then what will happen at that point is when they pass away, the trust will pay those funeral costs, and any excess funds will go to the estate of the insured. One thing before I move on and talk about the other trusts that we always make it clear to our clients, these are irrevocable trusts. So once the money goes in there, it only comes out at death. So we have a frank conversation with our client, and we tell them, look, the only time the money can ever come out is when you pass away. Don't call us to borrow off of it. Don't call us and ask us if you can cash it in, if you can transfer it. Once it's in there, and it's only coming out at death. We have never had a client call us to question us about whether they can get money out of this plan. So the second part of this is the NGL Estate Planning Trust. Now in this one, you can put up to $100,000 or a combination up to $100,000 between the two. So say you had bought a $15,000 funeral expense trust, and then you decided you wanted the estate planning trust. Well, you could put up to $85,000 into that, and then you would have a combination of $100,000 in the two. Or if you didn't need the funeral expense trust, you could certainly just put $100,000 into the estate planning trust. The difference is the money has to sit there for 5 years before it is exempt from a nursing home spend down, or has to be listed when you're trying to qualify for Medicaid. But believe me, I'm going to share a story here in a minute. 5 years goes quick, and it can be very beneficial to the client. So what will happen there is if you just have the estate planning trust, it would work the same way. They would take out the funds first to pay the funeral expenses, and then the excess funds are going to be returned to a designated beneficiary. So it wouldn't go back to the estate. You could name your kids, your spouse, whoever you wanted that money to come back to, and it would have a beneficiary designation on it. Usually when we do the academies that Sandy was referring to, I have a lot of agents that will ask me, well, John, this is great, but when do I use which trust? And so we'll talk about that for a minute. The funeral expense trust is for crisis planning. It's a great tool. You could have a client whose husband or wife is in the nursing home and they're worried about all the money they're spending. You could go in and write one on the wife and the husband who's in the facility. The wife can sign both applications. You never have to go to the long-term care facility, and they could get $30,000 off the table immediately. Maybe you have a client where Medicaid's very possible within 5 years. Maybe they do have money, but they see at the rate that they're spending it that they are going to have to probably apply for Medicaid. It's a great tool to, get that money off the table for them now. And a lot of times, a client just wants their funeral expenses taken care of, and they want assurance that those dollars are protected now. We do a lot of these with people who attend our seminars or come into our office off of our mailings. We present this to every client, and we do a lot of business off of that. And then the estate planning trust is great for when you have clients who maybe have money and Medicaid's a non-issue now, or 5 years from now, or maybe never. Maybe they're perfectly healthy. I always tell the story about the couple teachers that I have who I actually just had a review with this past Friday, and on December the 3rd, they will be 5 years through their program. So now we have $200,000 plus growth. I think we were at about 230 total. That now they get sick, go to a nursing home, no matter what happens, that money is 100% protected and is going to go down to their children, because that's really what they wanted, was to know that, hey, if everything went to heck in a handbasket, that we've got money protected that's going to go down to our kids. So we were able to do that for them. They're very happy with what we did, and it was a nice deal because we picked up a couple $100,000 into the plan. Or a lot of times you'll have somebody that says, hey, I've got all my funeral expenses taken care of, and then a key question to ask them is, do you have any money that you would like to see protected, that you'd like to go to your church or your charity? Because you can have the best laid intentions in the world. You can have it written in your will or your trust that you want money to go to a charity. But if you get sick and go into a nursing home, they don't care what your intentions were. So if you do have money, you're definitely going to designate to the charity. This is a great tool to get it in there and get that 5-year clock ticking on the money. So the product we use itself is called the NGL Asset Guard. It's really just a fixed rate product that we're going to combine with the funeral trust, and then we're going to give them an increasing death benefit to try and keep up with inflation and give them that financial protection as an option for their final expense planning. And on this note, I would say to you that, we do a lot of planning in our business. Even here at Entang Financial, we, have clients that we do income riders for. We don't know if they're ever going to need that income rider. I mean, we think they'll need it. We're building for that, but a lot of them don't even turn it on. But one thing we know for sure is that everybody's going to pass away, and this plan is going to come to completion at some point. So what we'll do next is we'll look at the different state limits. On the next screen, you'll see, based on where you're at, if you look at Ohio there, we can put $15,000 into the funeral trust, and we can also put up to $100,000 into that estate trust. So let's take a look at somebody who doesn't have it as good. Let's look at Florida. So in Florida, you're not allowed to put anything into an irrevocable funeral trust, but you are allowed to put money into an estate planning trust. So if I worked in Florida, I would say to my clients, hey, you still have the need. If you haven't prepaid your funeral, let's set the money aside now to do that. And then I would just use the estate planning trust and let the client know that, hey, this is going to start that 60-month window ticking for you, so that you still have the protection done, but we're working within the laws of Florida. Same thing with Nebraska there, where Insurance Agency Marketing Services is located. They can put 4916 in. So again, if I was a guy doing that and a funeral was $15,000, I would tell the client the 4916 is going to be protected immediately. Let's put that difference into the estate planning trust and get the clock ticking on it. So there's all your numbers. National Guardian Life always has updated numbers. So once you're licensed and you start going through this process, you can always call and check with them if you want to make sure you have the most up-to-date numbers, which I believe that these are. So then go ahead there, Sandy. Go ahead. There you go. So here's everything that's going to be, go back one for you. Everything that's going to be paid from the irrevocable funeral trust. So you can see that it's going to give them protection for just about everything that they're going to need when it comes down to a funeral. And one of the things on there is the transfer of deceased. So if you're down on vacation in Florida and you pass away and you've got to get back here to be buried, there's a cost to that. And so this will actually, part of this plan will allow you to pay for the transfer of the deceased back home. So what we'll do today is we're going to talk about the single pay with National Guardian Life. And the reason I say that, that's all we do at Inting Financial Services. We do not do any multi-pay. We know the clients we work with, we know they have the money to do a single pay policy. It's just our job to help them figure out where to take it from to get the plan completed. You get to offer them a growth rate up to 2.25%. You get to pick that growth rate for the client. And then there's one health question on the application. They're going to be approved no matter what. They're either going to be a standard or a guarantee issue. So for today, we're just going to talk about the single pay. And you're going to see here that you can get this issued from 0 to 99. So if you have a client that's 0 to 99, they're a prospect for this program. You might even offer it up. Think about the potential if they had grandkids and they just put $5,000 away for each of them, what that would look like at the end of their grandchild's life, how much that would grow to take care of their final expenses. And so it's open to everybody. If you're 0 to 99 and you're able to communicate and sometimes not able to communicate, you can still get the plan. Again, the one health question, if they answer no, it's going to be a standard issue. If they answer yes, it's going to be a guaranteed issue. So it's going to increase daily with simple growth. So if they put $15,000 in there, they're going to get an immediate full death benefit. So if that bottom 15,500, then they are going to be able to have an immediate full death benefit of that amount. And then again, it's going to grow daily with simple growth. So other product features, you can take that out there, Sandy. There you go. So it couldn't be easier to do. You have 2 pieces of paper and you're done. You know, if you don't like paperwork, then you're going to love this product because it's literally the application, which this is the top of the application, just all your basic information that you would have on there. And then you'll see the bottom of the application on the next slide, which is where you're going to sign and the client's going to sign. The next page is just a receipt that if they give you cash with app, you can take that receipt and give it to them and get your application submitted to the company. And then there's going to be 2 different disclosure forms. One will be if you're doing the funeral expense trust. The other one will be doing the estate planning trust. If you're doing a combination of both, you're going to need both of those disclosures. And then down here, if you have a client like my attorney sends down to me and is in a rush to get the money excluded immediately, so if he came in my office today and said, we're applying for Medicaid on the 15th of November, we can have the client sign here to waive that 45-day window from when they buy it to when it goes into the irrevocable trust, and we can get it put into that irrevocable trust immediately. So the health question, I'll let you just kind of peruse that for a second. You know, they're looking for the major things, making sure they're not in a nursing home. Or I'm sorry, not they're not in a nursing home, but that they don't have any of these big problems. And even if they do, then they are going to be able to get the contract issued. Where you're really going to see that is in your commission. So when we're presenting to clients, what I always tell everybody that becomes newly licensed with National Guardian Life is start off on your annual reviews, because, you know, if it were me and I was going in to see a client and I had a new program, and I do this, whether, you know, obviously it's not National Guardian Life with us, but if there's something I believe can benefit my client, I always start the conversation like this. Mr. or Mrs. Jones, you've been working with me for a number of years. Would you agree that all of the advice I've given you in the past has worked out just the way that we had expected it to? And they're going to tell me yes. And then I'm going to say to them, well, I've learned of something that we haven't addressed that's very important, and I'm going to show you how we get that taken care of. And then I'm going to talk to them about National Guardian Life. And when I present that funeral trust funding, I'm going to tell them about the stress those benefits of planning ahead. I had an agent at one of the academies say, wow, John, I don't know how this is going to sound to you, but I wish I had your story about your dad. And I said, well, you know what you do? You just flip it and say, hey, I want to share with you a story about a good friend of mine and what happened with his dad, and tell him that story. And then express to them that it can be used with any funeral home. You're not locking in, you know, funeral homes can go out of business. Google somewhere in your area just funeral homes who have had financial problems and read some of those stories. This puts your client in control because we're putting this money with a top-rated insurance company. And then this is a big key here, and we're starting to see a lot more business come in through our existing agents, and I think they're finally getting it. Your clients do not understand when they own a life insurance policy that when they die, they do not get both the cash value and the death benefit. And they also don't realize that this is one of the first assets that they're going to make you spend down if you go into nursing home care, which is your cash value of your life insurance. So as an example, if I was working with a client and they had $12,000 of cash value and a $14,000 death benefit, I'm going to tell them, hey, you've got $12,000 here that if you get sick and go to a nursing home, the nursing home is going to make you spend all of that money. Doesn't it make more sense as if this is to provide for your final expenses that we 1035 exchange that money? Yes, we're going to lose a couple $1,000s worth of death benefit, but we're going to protect that money from going to a nursing home. We do a lot of this, a lot of ways to be creative with it, and you can pick up a lot of business off those old life insurance policies, paid ups. You've seen them out there. Just dig into them and help your client get that money moved to National Guardian Life. And then again, we all get paid to close the sale. So once you know what you're doing and you become really good at it, you'll give the client that peace of mind of knowing that they've planned ahead and that the funds are protected, because that's the real key. So where do you find the money? Here's the beautiful thing. We say to our clients, you know what, in theory, you're not even buying anything. We're just taking money that you know you're going to need one day for your final expenses. We're moving it from an asset that's going to be countable towards a long-term care stay, and we're going to move it to the uncountable side of the ledger. And they've got the money, whether it's in CDs, money markets. Maybe you have a big annuity block of business and you didn't take trails on your annuities, and I think the number is 92% of all annuity buyers pass that money to the next generation. Show them how to take the 10% penalty-free withdrawal out and pay the taxes and fund the plan for themselves. You're doing them a service by giving them that advice. And so really, they have the money. We're not looking for new money. We're looking to convey the concept and then to get the plan funded for them. So these are the brochures we use when we're doing marketing with National Guardian Life. They've updated the ones on the left and the right. So the funeral expense trusts and the estate planning trust, they're very easy to use. They're very client friendly. I like to tell the story about a couple of, about 10 minutes from my office. They owned a couple of nationwide life insurance policies, had a pretty substantial cash value, and the death benefit was a little bigger than the cash value, but they wanted to get the money protected. So I went out and presented to them, and they said, well, John, you've dealt with us for a while, and you know we like to think about things. And I said, well, you know you've dealt with me for a while, and I don't mind people thinking about things, but I wanted to come to a conclusion while it's fresh on your mind. So tomorrow at 1 o'clock, I'm going to call you, and I want you to let me know what you want to do with this. 9 o'clock that next morning, the client had called me and said, hey, we read back through the brochure. Let's just get the appointment set and move the money. So they're very client-friendly brochures that can help you land some deals. So on the next page, this is a little bit about National Guardian Life. Look, we're making promises to people here. And my big thing with making promises is I want a company behind me that I don't have any question is going to be there to fulfill that promise I've made. I've never had one issue with National Guardian Life in dealing with them over 14 years. That's the way we like it, and they do a really, really good job at administering this program. So they have a really nice website for the agents. You'll be able to log into their portal once you're licensed. You can pull everything from forms to PowerPoint presentations that you can put on your computer or your iPad, whatever you're using, and be able to walk the client through it like I've walked you through here today. So they have a lot of great tools to make the business easier for you to do. So this is what it looks like once you get on there. Again, anything you need. That report section is my favorite because I get to click on there and see what commissions paid out for the day. And the reason I say that is if you like submission to commission, if I were to write an application that was cashed today on a client and send it out to National Guardian Life, if we overnighted it today, Wednesday, my commissions will be in my account. So once they get the business, they process it, they get it in force, and they pay. So why sell the product? You know, I've shared with you, the study shows your clients need it, they're thinking about it. Great income opportunity. You know, we look at this in our business as a great way to pay our office expenses every year. We know we can generate a nice amount of revenue just by asking a simple question, have you prepaid your funeral? Those trusts are free. You know, stress that to the client. No fees. You know, we don't run into anybody else talking to our clients about this product. Those funds are portable. You can use them with any funeral home provider, with a great company. If you don't like paperwork, you'll love the program. You know, it couldn't be easier to do. You got 2 pieces of paper, your state replacement form, and your disclosure on which trust you're using, and you are good to go. So just to talk a little bit about the compensation here, we'd like to just show you that if you just had 2 couples a month and you only put $10,000 each on those couples, you know, you're going to add $40,000 to your bottom line. And the reason I only show you doing that for 10 months out of the year is I know most of the people that I know in this business, we value our time off. So I don't want to overwork you. But you can still, you know, add 40,000 to whatever number upwards that you would like to just by implementing this plan into the business that you're already running and working with people. So on the next slide here, what you'll see is that top left-hand corner. That's going to be your commission schedule. If you send in $0 to $60,000 and you gave the client a growth rate of 2%, you can pick your client's growth rate. Here at Inting Financial, we decided years ago we were just giving everybody 2% across the board. That's what we do. But that being said, under that plan, if you look at a 61 to 65-year-old on a standard issue, that's 13.31% commission. So if you went into a house and fully funded $30,000, so 15 into a funeral trust for a husband and a wife, you know, you're talking about getting paid $4,000 on a review. That's a pretty nice paycheck for going out and do what you're supposed to be doing anyway, which is reviewing what you've done with your clients. So this is their next trip in 2019. They're going to Jamaica. The trips are very nice with them. They give you an opportunity to earn a full ride on the trip, or you can hit certain levels and either pay for your airfare or pay for that of a person you want to take with you. I've been on their trips. They treat you like gold. And I will say this, whether it's this trip or you end up making an insurance agency marketing services trip like Sandy showed you in the beginning, I always, when I went to these from young in my career, and I've been doing this for 31 years, I always look for the top producers. I wanted to talk to the guys that were already at the top because I knew if I could just pick things up from them, I could go home and implement some of those ideas into my business and then grow my business, which is exactly how we got to where we are today. Some of the biggest challenges, getting comfortable with the concept. You know, I sold my first annuity back in 1993 to a guy that owned a dry cleaner in Marion, Ohio. It was a $25,000 annuity. I couldn't believe the guy was going to let me walk out of his business with $25,000. But that being said, the application that I did for him was 3 pieces of paper, and the last page was the receipt. So, you know, paperwork was very easy back then. As you know, today with annuities and life insurance, it can become very cumbersome. With this plan, remember, it's very simple with the paperwork process. It's usually about a 15-minute at best process. And then learn how to present to your clients. So, you know, study the product, know what the benefits are. If you have any questions or concerns, I'm telling you, they have a 1-800 number directly to National Guardian Life. They have a great team. You could be in the middle of an appointment, call that number, you're going to get a live person, and they will answer your questions for you. And then keep it on the top of your mind, every client, every day. It's a real simple question. If you don't take anything else from this, take this. You ask the client, have you prepaid your funeral? If that client says no, they've just opened up the door for you to be able to show them how to get that done and get that peace of mind. So what we did at Inting Financial Services is we created a guide for beneficiaries, and we did this quite a ways back, and I'll just share a quick story of why we did it. We had a client that had about $500,000 in annuities with us. Her daughter called me, said, hey, I want to let you know that mom passed away. We said, hey, we're sorry for your loss. And I said, you know, once you get through the grieving period and get everything done that you need to get done, let us know so we can get together about the annuity money your mom has. And then she said to me, well, don't worry about that. I've already talked to the guy at the bank, and he said he'd be happy to handle all of that for us, including the stuff at the bank. So we made a determination we weren't going to let that happen to us again. So we created this guide for beneficiary. It allowed us to go out and collect all new data on the client. Go back just one for me there, Sandy. Thank you. Allowed us to go out and collect all new data from the client and then be able to give them suggestions on what to do with that new data we collected. And it's amazing because even some clients that we thought had told us everything, I'm going to tell you right now, your clients don't tell you everything, because in the process of implementing these guides over a 6-month period, we picked up an additional $1.5 million in annuity premium, about $200,000 in single premium life, and about $150,000 of National Guardian Life Trust money. So practice makes perfect. Again, if you take this guide and you get out in front of your clients and you update all their financial information, you'll be able to bring this up to them during that process, and I'll show you how here in a minute, and you'll pick up a lot of different money, not just National Guardian Life. So at Inting Financial, this is what ours looks like. Once you're contracted through insurance agency marketing services with National Guardian Life, they can make this available to you so that you can put your company information in there. But it's a guide. It has, this is what the front of it looks like. And then as the client goes through the guide, it tells them, this is an opening letter from me telling them, you know, that I personally guarantee their satisfaction, and we make them aware that their beneficiaries need to know that we're the people and that this guide is there, because the guide has everything in it that a beneficiary needs to do, or someone that's settling the estate, that they need to do when someone passes away, even down to letter templates to write to credit card companies and pension plans. So once you're licensed, we make this available to you. This is what our financial organizer looks like. So we're updating all of the information, and you'll notice we don't just start with the financials. We're trying to collect all the information on the children, and you should get their emails. That's one thing we're adding on to here about the kids. And the reason for that is if you send out financial newsletters, you can always put them on it. And then one day you'll be working with those children, and you want to make sure they know who you are and that you've helped their parents and that you can help them. So on the next 2 pages, you'll see that we're talking about the financials. So now we're looking, asking them all kinds of questions, and where that arrow is on the board, number 8 right there, have you prepaid your funeral? It's a yes or no question. So you're going to be able to ask your clients that question. If they say no, don't launch into a sales pitch. What we've done is we've created this in a digital format, and just to tell you how we do it here, and you would be able to do the same thing, is once you go out and you do this with the client, you tell them that you're going to bring them back out a printed one. And so you go in, you put all the information in, it calculates all the values, and then next year when you go do another review, if anything has changed on the financial numbers, all you have to do is just go back to your office, open up the one that you can put the numbers in, print it off, and send it back out to them so that they have an up-to-date one. And the reason I say that's important is we tell our clients that, hey, if you use this organizer and this guide and we had never met you before, if this is completed, I could walk into your house, I could take this information, and I could start settling your estate without ever meeting you. So it's very detailed. Sandy, you can go on the next one there. There you go. That's just going to be all the basic information that you're looking for anytime you're working with a client. So this is a very nice structured way to be able to get all that information. And you're giving them a deliverable, which clients like. That's just the last page for notes. And I think that that will do it, other than, Sandy, before we take any questions, I would just like to say something here, that we have a sales incentive contest going on with this. So once you're licensed with National Guardian Life through Insurance Agency Marketing Services, what we're doing is any applications that are submitted submitted and issued between now and December the 14th, with a minimum of 3 applications, we're going to put those names in a hopper and pull a name out on December 14th for $1,500, which is a nice way to take care of Christmas. So if you write 10 apps, you've got 10 chances. If you write 3 apps, you've got 3 chances. But again, the more the merrier. We will only draw one name, and that person is going to get $1,500 to help them take care of Christmas. So really excited about that. We've seen a lot of production coming in from agents across the country. And at that point, if you have any questions for me, I'd certainly be happy to answer them for you.
And while we answer questions, I'm going to launch just a last poll question, and that is if you'd like to get contracted with National Guardian Life. Can't stress enough what a great opportunity it would be for you to get contracted. One of our questions is, again, they want to know how to avoid that 5-year look back for Medicaid. Which product should you choose for that?
That's going to be the funeral expense trust. If you want the money excluded immediately, then you would put that as much as you could into there. But if you have a client who, they're not going on Medicaid anytime soon, they're not even in a nursing home yet, it's a great conversation to say, hey, do you have any money you would like to know is 100% protected from a nursing home in the event you get sick in the future and need care? And then that's when you really open up that conversation about the estate planning trust. To put it in perspective, it has a 60-month look back, but I got news for you. If you procrastinate, Mr. or Mrs. Client, and you don't do this for a year, now you've just created yourself a longer look back, because if we do it from a year, we still got to wait the 5 years. So let's get the clocks ticking today and get that thing funded.
And this is recorded, just that's several questions have asked if this is recorded, which is great because it shows that you see the need for this. This is recorded. We'll be happy to, and I will send this out to everyone that has registered, so you will get this as a recorded link. I don't believe we have any additional questions right now, so just want to say thank you so much to John for taking time out to go over this, and thank you to everyone for taking time out of your busy Monday morning. Just so greatly appreciated. I hope everyone has a very safe and successful week, and again, just so greatly appreciate your time. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.